Viva el Caribe, 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 viva el Caribe. Aba we di Cancun, no apa festival, yendo di Cartagena, no apa festival. Aya Americana, ama Jamaican, los dominicanos de
love for people, and it dawned on me I got it from my mom. You see, my mom was a teacher, and as a young adult I would go to school with her from time to time. The first day I was absolutely speechless. As we drove into the compound, Mommy stopped. She spoke to the security guard. Then as she drove, the parents would blow their horns and wave at Mom. As she reached closer to the classroom, the children ran and gave her a hug. And I realized that was Mommy's normal. On one particular day, though, it absolutely was different. As we drove into the compound, Mommy stopped and she spoke to the security guard. She then reached to the back seat, picked up a brown bag and gave it to Mr. Jones. They exchanged pleasantries and we drove off. As we drove off, I said, "Mom, what did you give Mr. Jones?" She said, "Akka, I gave him a meal." I said, "Why did you give him a meal?" She said, 4 months ago, Mr. Jones shared that he was in some financial difficulty. And on that day, my mother decided that she would give Mr. Jones a meal every day that she came to school. I asked, "How did you know that he would appreciate it?" She said, "I didn't initially, but his reaction spoke volumes." He said, "Mrs. Ali, thank you for listening and thank you for showing that you care." Wow. At the end of the conversation, Mommy told me 2 things that I've kept with me. Care is a verb. It's a doing and a telling word. And care is only care when the person receiving appreciates and acknowledges that they feel cared for. I have used those words of wisdom as my anchor as a leader. Everything that I do, everything that I say, my manner, how I articulate my thoughts, when I'm coaching persons, when I'm training, when I'm giving feedback, even when I'm holding persons accountable. In this book, The Master Guide to Leadership Through the Lens of Care, I have shared my 20 years of experience. It's a practical book that is an easy read that shares with leaders, young and experienced, how care, when rooted in everything that we do, it is magic. We have to be leaders that we would like to follow. So I share with you, show care and be the ultimate high performance leader.
Viva el Caribe, 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 viva el Caribe. Aba we di Cancun, no apa festival,
Kirk Johnson here at CariCon 2021, a celebration of Caribbean literature. Today I'll be reading a short passage from Roasting Karma. Awaken from illusion, take responsibility for your past actions, and create a life that is truly free. Now, before we get into that small excerpt, I'd like to give you a little bit of background. I had just found out that I had very high blood pressure and was in the emergency department where I almost lost my life. Later, I was admitted to the hospital where I had a very interesting interaction. Here we go. When one thinks of the hospital staff, the first people who come to mind are often the doctors and nurses. But there are a whole host of people necessary to run the day-to-day operations. My favorites were always the orderlies and assistants. Why? To me, they were always more genuine and authentic, probably because they had nothing to prove. There was a black woman of Caribbean descent that came to check my room, sweep, and empty the bins. She looked around as she came near, leaned in, and whispered to me, "You shouldn't be here." Okay, I thought, if what was happening the last few days wasn't enough to make my hair stand on end, this was it. "What do you mean I shouldn't be here?" I asked. She just shook her head and repeated the same words, "You shouldn't be here." She looked around again. I'm not sure what she was looking for, but I imagine she was just making sure there were no doctors or nurses listening. She whispered again, "I'm going to bring you the number of a woman to call. She knows things. She will explain everything." Then she left the room. I was puzzled by this interaction and wondered what the woman meant. While I wasn't a religious man, I had seen enough movies about voodoo, hoodoo, psychics, and rituals to venture a guess about what this woman was suggesting, and I must say it intrigued me. I couldn't wait for her to come back. She returned a short while later with a phone number on a card and a plug-in phone for me to use. She instructed me on what time I should call, which would be later that evening, and then she left again. At the prearranged time, I made the call. The whole event seemed so strange and macabre, and the conversation with this woman was no different. When I dialed the number, it rang, and an elderly, confident, yet mysterious voice answered the phone. I gave my name, and she seemed to know why I was calling. I mentioned that the lady in the hospital told me I wasn't supposed to be here and gave me your number. Can you tell me what she was talking about? The mysterious voice replied, "Yes, but first I need to find you." Find me? What the heck does that mean? I wondered. I waited for her to continue. The voice returned a few moments later and mused, "This is strange. I cannot find you. This is very strange. It's like you are no longer with us. It looks like you're going to have to moan it out." Yes, you're going to have to moan it out. That is all I can tell you. You're going to have to moan it out. As this was a strange occurrence and my comfort level was not at its highest during this conversation, I accepted the fact that it was all she could tell me. "Thank you, goodbye," I said. A few moments later, my head came out of the clouds. I wondered why I didn't ask her what "you're going to have to moan it out" meant. As fate would have it, I would soon find out. That's all for now. Join me at CariCon 2021.
Viva el Caribe, 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 viva el Caribe.
I started to play when I was 14 years. Now to come and play, I had to go in the regalia and fight. Cannot get away. So you will see we pass through hell to get the band with this. The rope trap we loaded from India and it came along here. When we came to Trinidad, we merged with the calendar stick fighters. And the Gadka people came here with our martial arts. So we create our own style, which they call us hybrid now. So that is why you find this is a ritual, this is a spiritual preparation. And there's nothing to play. 40 days before the carnival, as a man starts a ritual. The chant will tell you what you do. Listen to the chant and they can tell you the story of what that is. When I was growing up, my father was cutting the grass. So that's why I walk away. All the land to walk. Nah. Waka come out now, we don't need this thing again. So we vex with the man. Remember, I vex with the man. Not knowing when we want to play jab. This is what's training for me. Learning how to hit. And you're going through the grass in the garden and you're breaking and you cut it. It's a way of life. No, I mean, I opened up in a different way for them. So this is not just carnival time, you come out and you play. When carnival finished, I went to you say carnival done, carnival coming again.
My name is Marissa Younglee and I'm an artist. The first time I saw the jabs was at Canberra about 3 years ago. It was the first time I ever came face to face with traditional mass. I saw them standing on the street waiting to perform really, and they were standing in a line. They had such a presence, they looked so intimidating but at the same time fascinating. All the colors, all the bells, the whip, the mask, the little horns. It was a lot going on, but the way they were standing still, it really struck me. And I decided I really needed to know what they were about. And I took it upon myself to find out about them. And I've asked their permission to paint them because I really feel like with no prompt whatsoever, they're taking it upon themselves to carry on this tradition.
It's not only Indian people play mask here. It's a true Trinidad. Every Trinidad race final you got place here. If you come here with race talk and you reach where I get there, you're in the wrong place. We don't tolerate that and we don't allow that. Everybody could come. The Indian, the African, the Chinese, the Syrians, the Spanish, everybody allowed to come here and everybody allowed to take part in it. All the elders in the village, them big fellas who I train, sending their sons to train with me. Not because they can't train them, they know the thing too, they can train them, but it's just that when they come here into this space, they're in touch with everything else. Like how I say, this is our mall and this is our Starbucks, we make our bush tea, so they keep in touch with nature.
I think social media could only help. Personally, I only really use social media to advertise my own art, and it's been a huge help for me. So the Alfreds are a little bit like me, they're a little shy, but I think it could only help them if they were to post videos and pictures of themselves and their performances and things, which they've been doing, and I think people are getting a lot more familiar with them now and familiar with the job.
Before my time up, and I will always be able to be a fighter as I am, I must be able to see at least 100 jabs a band back in Trinidad and Tobago, and it used to have.
And traditional mass, once you come face to face with it, it changes your life. I'm so ashamed that it took me so long to find it, and I wish that we would do more to promote it and to keep it alive. And that's why I appreciate people like Ronald so much, because there's literally no profit in it for them.
The Alfred family have been the hardest hitters in the game. People say when we hit them like 10 man hit them. We hit them hard. I want to know why we hand so strong, why we hand heavy. Right? Now they're style hitting like drag, Drag. Drag. If I hit you now, I won't hit you. It's me and many more. And when my time up, I do the facial assert physically, I go play still.